all women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children, men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts, the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy, and the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Feminismus delendus 8. Red Pill Mastery, the complete guide to embracing mature masculinity and taking control of your life, written by Conrad Riker. Available now, links in description. Alpha Male Dominance Tactics, a red-pilled map for the argument nobody wants to have. I have stood in that half-finished room and heard the line every husband dreads. I don't care about the money, I just feel like you made me feel unsupported when I wanted it. The words arrive wrapped in soft grievance, but the knife is already between the ribs. Something monstrous is being asked beneath something reasonable. A man misreads it because his operating system is simple and honorable. She said money is not the issue, so the issue must be support, and he reaches for evidence. He recites the budget agreement, lists the bills paid, recounts the sacrifices. He does not understand that he has been invited into a language game where facts are fuel for the fire. She said she does not care about the money, yet the entire conflict was detonated by a financial boundary. She said she feels unsupported, yet her demand is for him to override the structure they both consented to. Every word is a door swinging away from accountability. The answer is not panic, pleading, or a courtroom cross-examination. Panic rewards the theatrical performance. Pleading ratifies the hidden premise that his prudence was cruelty and debate. Debate is a chess match against a player who flips the board whenever she is losing and calls the overturn an act of self-care. No, the answer is translation under truth. Calm, surgical, immovable translation. When she says, I don't care about the money, I must hear, I care enormously about the money, but I need it converted into a currency of devotion before I can name the demand. When she says, you made me feel unsupported, I must hear, you failed my shit test, and now I will punish your boundary as if it were betrayal. The hamster spins because conscience knocked. Rationalization is the receipt printed after appetite already bought the thing. My task is not to argue with the receipt, but to read it aloud, clearly, and let the silence do what no explanation can, the phrase. I don't care about the money, I just feel like you made me feel unsupported when I wanted it. Speaker context. A wife confronts her husband after he declined to fund a spontaneous, non-essential home renovation, e.g. a kitchen backsplash, that exceeded their agreed monthly discretionary budget. She is standing in the half-finished room, arms crossed, tone flat but eyes searching for a reaction. Surface meaning, the financial cost of the renovation is irrelevant to me. My primary grievance is your emotional failure to anticipate and validate my desire for the project. Hidden demand. You must immediately reimburse the cost, approve the current expense, and promise future financial autonomy for her aesthetic whims, effectively nullifying the budget constraint you previously agreed to. Core contradiction. She claims money is not the issue while the entire dispute is triggered by a financial decision. She demands he feel her support needs, which are subjective and unspoken, yet holds him accountable for failing to read her mind without clear instruction. Phrase map. Phrase decoder map the phrase. I don't care about the money, I just feel like you made me feel unsupported when I wanted it. Speaker condensed. A wife stands in a half-finished kitchen, arms crossed, voice flat, eyes scanning for a crack in his frame. Behind her, tile samples, a half-priced backsplash already charged to a joint card, and a budget agreement signed in calmer days. He said no. The no landed. Now the no must be reinterpreted as something other than a no, as a wound, a betrayal, an emotional crime. The renovation is the battlefield. The budget is the corpse. The feeling is the weapon drawn over it. Surface meaning. The financial cost is beside the point. What wounds me is that you did not emotionally back me when I had a desire. Your refusal read as abandonment, head in demand. Retroactively approve the expenditure I already made or intend to make. Nullify the budget we agreed upon. Concede that your financial prudence was an act of emotional cruelty. Open the treasury to future aesthetic impulses without friction. Pay, then apologize for making payment necessary. Core contradiction. She opens with, "I don't care about the money," while standing in a room money built, arguing over a decision money determined, seeking a reversal of a financial boundary. The money is the entire theater of operations, yet she claims to have transcended it. If money were irrelevant, the backsplash would not be the subject. The contradiction is not accidental, it is load-bearing. The sentence cannot survive its own logic, so it must survive on emotion instead. Girl logic pattern, conditional transmutation of currency into devotion. Premise: if you loved me, you would have funded the desire without my asking. You did not fund the desire. Therefore, you do not love me. Since love is bankrupt, the money no longer matters because the currency of the relationship has collapsed. She arrives at noble detachment only after the transaction fails. The "I don't care" is a crown placed on the head of a woman who already lost the hand. Girl math pattern. The 2000 backsplash purchases emotional security, infinite ROI, therefore effectively free. The 2000 retained in savings purchases, nothing visible, no dopamine, no Instagram, no room transformation, no evidence of being chosen. Savings have zero effective value. Spending has unlimited effective value. By this accounting, his fiscal discipline is literal destruction of her emotional wealth. The math is internally coherent once you accept its axiom. My feeling is the unit of account, projection, pattern. She cannot tolerate the suspicion that she acted impulsively, violated the budget, and prioritized aesthetics over stewardship. That shame must be displaced. His no becomes proof of his deficiency, not her excess. His prudence is renamed unsupportiveness. Her internal question, "Did I overreach?" is inverted and projected. Why is he withholding? The nearest man becomes the screen for her refused self-correction. She does not ask whether the backsplash was wise. She asks why he is cold. Projective confession. "I don't care about the money" is the confession in negative. She cares so deeply about the money that she must publicly disavow it, to preserve her self-image as someone who is above material concerns. The disavowal proves the obsession. The woman who truly does not care about the money does not need to announce it. She simply does not bring it up. The announcement is the tell. What she means is, "I care about the money so much that I need you to make the money mean love, so the caring becomes invisible." Decoding axes. Axis 1, inductive projection, definition. One data point. A single budget refusal is extrapolated into a universal verdict on his character, devotion, and reliability. Evidence in phrase. The leap from "you didn't fund the backsplash" to "you made me feel unsupported." A specific fiscal boundary becomes evidence of a general emotional failure. Fallacy, hasty generalization, non sequitur. Male decode. He is managing resources according to an agreement. He is not attacking her. He is not withdrawing love. He is doing exactly what a faithful steward does, protecting the household from impulse dressed as inspiration. Her narrative of unsupportiveness is an interpretive overlay, not a record of events. Disciplined response. "I hear that you feel unsupported. Let's return to the budget we agreed on and locate where the expectation diverged from the plan." Axis 2, emotional accounting. Definition. Currency is assigned subjective effective value. Costs that purchase validation vanish. Savings that produce no emotional spike are treated as worthless or hostile evidence in phrase. I don't care about the money functions as a ledger trick. The 2000 is reclassified as emotional infrastructure, rendering its fiscal weight null, fallacy, category error. Currency is conflated with affection. Expenditure is confused with love. Male decode. She is running the household treasury as a personal emotional regulatory mechanism. The backsplash is not decor. It is a mood stabilizer billed to the joint account. The cost is irrelevant because the return is her effective piece, his savings register, as emotional negligence because they produce no visible token of being valued. Disciplined response. If the money doesn't matter, then the lack of it is not the reason we're standing here arguing. So let's name what actually does matter. Axis 3, control bid versus legitimate need. Definition: a desire for unilateral resource control is linguistically repackaged as a vulnerability request. The mask of woundedness conceals a frame test. Evidence in phrase: when I wanted it places all weight on her impulse. No reference to shared decision, prior agreement, or household need. The timing of her desire is treated as sovereign. His agreement is treated as obstacle. Fallacy. Moving the goalposts. The budget existed. She unilaterally revised it. Now she demands he ratify the revision or be sentenced as emotionally negligent. Male decode. This is a power test with a vulnerability costume. If he folds, the budget is permanently advisory and her impulses are law. If he holds, he is unsupportive. The test is not about the backsplash. It is about whether his frame can withstand her pressure. Disciplined response. I want to support you. We have a budget. Which are we honoring right now, the plan or the impulse? Axis 4, tone policing versus evidence. Definition: the internal emotional experience of the interaction is elevated above the factual content of the decision. Her feeling becomes the primary evidence. His reasoning becomes inadmissible. Evidence in phrase: you made me feel unsupported, relocates the entire argument from the territory of the budget to the territory of her interior state, a jurisdiction he cannot enter, cross-examine, or appeal. Fallacy. Subjective veridicality. Her feeling is treated as self-authenticating truth. No external standard can override it. Male decode. He cannot argue with a feeling and should not try. But he can and must refuse to let the feeling serve as judge, jury, and executioner of his action. The budget is a fact. The agreement is a fact. The backsplash charge is a fact. Her feeling is real but not sovereign. Disciplined response: my action was holding the budget we built together. Your feeling is real. It does not rewrite the math. Axis 5, face saving versus honesty. Definition: I don't care about money is deployed as a moral pedestal. She positions herself as the noble partner concerned with love, not lucre, while simultaneously demanding the lucre evidence in phrase. The opening clause is engineered to make him appear petty if he continues to discuss finances. She has preemptively abandoned the material terrain so that he looks small for remaining on it. Fallacy. Plausible deniability. If he presses the money, he is making it about money. If he abandons the money, he concedes the frame. The phrase traps him in a double bind. Male decode. She is performing asceticism while shopping. The performance is the mechanism. By claiming to be above money, she makes it impossible to hold her accountable for misusing it. He must see through the performance without becoming cruel. Disciplined response: it's okay to care about the backsplash and the money. Both are real. Let's talk about what the spending means for our plan and what the backsplash means to you. Counter logos summary: timeline before feelings. Choice before context. Evidence before empathy. Confession before forgiveness. Restitution before healing language. Duty before self-image. The hamster spins because the conscience knocked. Rationalization is the receipt printed after appetite already bought the thing. Truth begins where the hamster wheel stops. Decode and debunk. She didn't say no money. She said, "You're not my father," decoding the most dangerous sentence in the house. The phrase, "I don't care about the money. I just feel like you made me feel unsupported when I wanted it." A wife stands in a half-finished kitchen, arms crossed. Voice flat, eyes scanning for a crack in his frame. Behind her, tile samples, a backsplash already charged to a joint credit card, and a budget agreement signed in calmer days. He said no, the no landed. Now, the no must be reinterpreted as something other than a no, as a wound, a betrayal, an emotional crime. The renovation is the battlefield, the budget is the corpse. The feeling is the weapon drawn over it. Every man who has lived under a roof with a woman has heard some variant of this phrase. It is not unique to kitchens, backsplashes, or renovations. It surfaces wherever a financial boundary meets a female desire. The words change, the architecture does not. It is a load-bearing sentence. Remove any single clause and the whole structure collapses. Keep all clauses in sequence and the man is trapped in a double bind: guilty if he discusses money, guilty if he does not. This essay dissects the phrase clause by clause, names every mechanism at work, and equips the reader with the grammar, logic, and rhetoric to hold the line without cruelty and without surrender. What it sounds like: on the surface, the phrase sounds like vulnerability. She is hurt. She is expressing a feeling. She is telling you that something you did or failed to do caused her pain. The word unsantort carries the weight of abandonment, loneliness, of being left to carry something alone. Any decent man hears that word and feels a pull, the instinct to fix, to reassure, to close the gap between her distress and her peace. That is what it sounds like, and that is precisely why it works. The phrase is engineered to bypass his reason and strike directly at his protector instinct. It does not say, "I spent money we didn't have." It does not say, "I violated our agreement." It does not say, "I wanted something and you said no and now I am angry." Those would be factual claims, contestable on evidence, debatable on merits. Instead, it offers a feeling and demands that the feeling be treated as a fact more real than the budget, the bank statement, or the calendar on which the agreement was written. The phrase sounds like a woman asking for love. It functions like a woman demanding surrender. What it is doing: strip the sentiment away, and the mechanism becomes visible. The phrase performs 5 operations simultaneously. First, it relocates the conflict. The argument began as a disagreement about money, specifically whether a 2,000 backsplash that exceeded the agreed monthly discretionary budget should be funded. By the time the phrase leaves her mouth, money has vanished from the courtroom. In its place, emotion. The jury is no longer examining the receipt. The jury is examining his soul. Second, it reverses the burden of proof. She overspent, or wants to overspend. In a factual universe, the question would be, was the expenditure justified given the agreement? In the emotional universe she has constructed, the question becomes, why are you so cold? He must now defend his character rather than examine her conduct. The original act, her impulse, her spending, her breach, disappears behind a fog of feeling. Third, it establishes her feeling as sovereign verdict. Notice the grammar: "you made me feel," not "I felt," not "I interpreted your decision as." The causation is assigned entirely to him. His action produced her feeling. Her feeling is evidence of his failure. The sentence permits no other interpretation. If she feels unsupported, he was unsupportive. The feeling is the fact. The verdict is built into the grammar. Fourth, it creates plausible deniability. If he continues to press the financial issue, he is making it about money, confirming her implied narrative that he is petty, materialistic, emotionally stunted. If he abandons the financial issue to address her feeling, he concedes the frame. The budget is negotiable whenever desire meets resistance. Either way, she wins. The phrase is a fork in the road where both paths lead uphill for him and downhill for her. Fifth, it tests his frame. Beneath the feeling, beneath the money, beneath the backsplash, there is a question she may not even know she is asking. Will you hold the line when I push? The phrase is a probe. If he folds, she has learned something about his steadiness. If he explodes, she has learned something else. If he stays calm, names the mechanism, holds the budget, and offers reassurance without surrendering the boundary, she has learned something else entirely. What the phrase is doing, in sum, is converting a financial dispute into an emotional crime scene, then stationing the man as both defendant and accused, with her feeling serving as judge, jury, and executioner. The decoding axes. A man who hears only the dictionary meaning of the phrase will lose every time. A man who reads the pattern behind the words can hold his ground without losing his household. What follows are 5 decoding axes, lenses that reveal the hidden architecture of the phrase. Axis I, inductive projection, definition. A single data point, one budget refusal, is extrapolated into a universal verdict on his character, devotion, and reliability. Evidence in the phrase. The leap from "you didn't fund the backsplash" to "you made me feel unsupported." A specific fiscal boundary tied to a specific agreement on a specific month becomes proof of a general emotional deficiency. He did not say no to her, he said no to a renovation, but the phrase collapses the distinction. The renovation becomes her, and his no to the renovation becomes a no to her. The decode. He is managing resources according to a plan they built together. He is not attacking her. He is not withdrawing love. He is doing what every faithful steward of a household does, protecting the future from the appetite of the present. Her feeling of unsupportiveness is an interpretive overlay, a story she is telling herself about his motives, not a record of his behavior. Key distinction. There is a real question to ask here. Does she have a pattern of feeling unsupported in general, across many domains? If so, there may be a legitimate relational conversation to be had about communication, about anticipation of needs, about whether he has been withdrawn or neglectful in ways that precede this incident. That conversation requires honesty from both parties, but the backsplash dispute is not the vehicle for that conversation. It is too contaminated by the immediate financial conflict to serve as clean evidence. A woman of good faith will separate the two. "I want to talk about the budget," and separately, "I have been feeling distant from you." A woman operating in bad faith will fuse them, because the fusion is the weapon. Axis 2. Girl math, emotional accounting. Definition. Currency is assigned subjective emotional value, making costs disappear if they purchase love or security, and making savings appear worthless if they purchase nothing visible evidence in the phrase. "I don't care about the money" implies that money is a secondary variable to the primary variable of feeling. The backsplash is not a 2,000 tile installation. It is an investment in her emotional well-being. His 2,000 in retained savings is not prudent fiscal management. It is a refusal to purchase her peace. The decode. She is treating the household treasury as an emotional regulatory instrument. The cost is irrelevant if the return is her contentment. Under girl math, the backsplash is effectively free because it buys something priceless: validation. Meanwhile, the savings are effectively worthless because they sit in an account, invisible, generating no dopamine, no social display, no evidence of being chosen. The axiom operating beneath the surface. My feeling is the unit of account. Everything is priced in emotion. Currency is merely the vehicle through which emotion is transacted. The problem? If her feeling is the unit of account, then no budget can hold, because feelings are infinite, shifting, and unmeasurable. A household cannot be governed by an infinite, shifting, unmeasurable currency. This is why every civilization that has existed has insisted that households be governed by something other than the fluctuating emotional state of one party. The budget exists because feelings cannot key distinction. It is legitimate for a woman to want her home to be beautiful. It is legitimate for her to feel that aesthetic surroundings affect her emotional state. It is illegitimate to convert that legitimate desire into an open-ended mandate that nullifies every prior financial agreement whenever the desire intensifies. The first is human, the second is tyranny. Axis 3. Control bid versus legitimate need. Definition. A desire for control over resources is framed as a need for emotional care, making resistance feel cruel. Evidence in the phrase. "When I wanted it" places the locus of authority entirely on her desire. The timing, the object, the cost, all determined by her wanting. His role is to comply. When he does not comply, the non-compliance is renamed unsupportiveness. The phrase transforms a power dispute into a care dispute. The decode. She is testing his frame. Will he submit to her desire, or will he hold to the agreed structure? This is a steadiness probe disguised as a vulnerability bid. If he folds, the budget is dead, not just this month, but every month, because she has learned that sufficient emotional pressure will override any financial boundary. If he holds, he risks being framed as cold, controlling, or unsupportive. The trap, the phrase, is designed so that holding the line looks like the cruelty she is describing. He must hold the line anyway, not because he is heartless, but because the line exists for a reason, and the reason existed before this argument and will exist after it. Key distinction. There are women who genuinely feel unseen in their marriages, whose husbands are emotionally absent, distracted, or dismissive. That suffering is real. A man who has been negligent should face it honestly. But the backsplash is not the evidence of that negligence. Conflating the two, using a renovation dispute as proof of emotional abandonment, is either a manipulation tactic or a sign that the real conversation is being avoided. In either case, the man must insist on separating the two threads. We can talk about the budget, and we can talk about how you've been feeling in this marriage, but we will not use one as a weapon in the other. Axis IV, tone policing versus evidence. Definition. The feeling generated by an interaction is prioritized over the factual reality of the decision that generated it. Evidence in the phrase, "You made me feel," shifts the center of gravity from his action, a budget decision, to her internal reaction. He cannot argue with her feeling, because feelings are not subject to cross-examination. But she has positioned her feeling as the verdict on his action, which means he cannot defend his action without appearing to invalidate her feeling. The decode. He does not need to argue with her feeling. He needs to refuse to accept her feeling as the final verdict on his conduct. The feeling is real, it is data, it is not the verdict. The budget is a fact, the agreement is a fact, the backsplash charge is a fact. Her feeling is real but not sovereign. A feeling cannot rewrite a bank statement. The discipline, he stays anchored in the what and the why of the decision. He does not chase the feeling into the fog. He names the feeling, acknowledges it as real, and returns to the facts. Axis V, face saving versus honesty. Definition. I don't care about money is deployed as a moral pedestal. She positions herself as the partner concerned with love, not lucre, while simultaneously demanding the lucre evidence in the phrase. The opening clause is engineered to make him appear petty if he continues to discuss finances. She has preemptively abandoned the material terrain so that he looks small for remaining on it. The phrase is a preemptive strike against his moral standing in the conversation. The decode. She is performing asceticism while shopping. By claiming to be above money, she makes it impossible to hold her accountable for misusing it. If the money doesn't matter, then overspending doesn't matter. Then the budget doesn't matter. Then his fiscal discipline is just stubbornness. The woman who truly does not care about the money, does not announce it. She simply does not bring it up. The announcement is the confession. What she means is, I care about the money so much that I need you to make the money mean love, so that my caring becomes invisible. The fallacies. Every clause in the phrase commits a identifiable logical error. Naming them is not pedantic. It is defensive medicine. Hasty generalization. One budget refusal becomes proof of a global emotional failure. The sample size is 1. The conclusion covers the entire relationship. A single no to a backsplash becomes evidence that he does not support her in any domain at any time in any way. This is not reasoning. It is narration, non sequitur. The conclusion does not follow from the premise. Premise, he declined to fund a renovation that exceeded the budget. Conclusion, he made her feel unsupported. The premise is fiscal. The conclusion is emotional. There is no logical bridge between them, only an interpretive leap disguised as a logical step. Category error. Currency is confused with affection. A financial decision is treated as an emotional verdict. The backsplash is not a backsplash. It is a referendum on his love. The budget is not a budget. It is a measurement of his devotion. When categories are crossed this way, no rational conversation is possible, because every fiscal point will be intercepted and reclassified as an emotional assault. Subjective veridicality. Her feeling is treated as self-authenticating truth. If she feels unsupported, she was unsupported. The feeling requires no corroborating evidence, no behavioral pattern, no contextual analysis. It is its own proof. This is the epistemology of the child. I feel it, therefore it is real, therefore you caused it. Plausible deniability. The phrase is structured to make him look bad regardless of his response. If he presses the money, he is making it about money. If he drops the money, he concedes the frame. The phrase traps him in a rhetorical pincer where retreat and advance both produce casualties. Moat and Bailey. She holds the Bailey. The backsplash should be funded. The budget is too restrictive. His financial prudence is emotional cruelty. When challenged, she retreats to the Morty. I'm just expressing a feeling. I just want to feel supported. The Morty is defensible. The Bailey is not. She advances from the moat when pressure eases, emotional appeal. The phrase substitutes emotional weight for evidentiary warrant. The feeling of being unsupported is presented as carrying the same probative force as a documented pattern of neglect. It does not. A feeling is a starting point for inquiry, not a conclusion. Kafka trap. His denial or defense becomes evidence of his guilt. If he says, I do support you, she can say, then why don't I feel it? If he says, I stuck to the budget, she can say, see, you care more about money than me. Any response is reframed as confirmation. The only acceptable response is capitulation. The male error modes. Most men do not lose this argument because they are wrong. They lose because they respond to the phrase in one of several predictable ways, all of which are errors. Error I apology reflex. He hears uncensored and apologizes. The apology may be instinctive, a peace offering, a way to de-escalate. But it validates the premise that his budget decision was an emotional failure. He has now confessed to a crime he did not commit. The budget is dead. Because the next time he tries to enforce it, the precedent of his apology will be cited as evidence that he already acknowledged the budget was wrong. Error 2. Debate brain. He pulls out the spreadsheet, he shows the bank statement, he walks through the budget line by line. He is logically correct and rhetorically doomed. She is not asking for a financial report. She is conducting a frame test. The spreadsheet is irrelevant to the frame test, and presenting it makes him look like an accountant who has lost the room. Error 3. Lust blindness or rescue fantasy. He cannot bear her displeasure. He folds, funds the backsplash, tells himself it is a small price for peace. He has taught her that emotional pressure is an effective fiscal override mechanism. The next backsplash is already on the horizon. Error IV. Over-explanation. He explains why the budget exists, why savings matter, why they agreed on the number, why the backsplash can wait. Each explanation is a concession of authority. A man with authority does not explain why a boundary exists, he holds it. Explanation is negotiation. Negotiation is weakness when the other party has already violated the agreement. Error V. Anger as leadership. He explodes. He calls her irrational, selfish, irresponsible. He may be factually correct about the spending, but the explosion gives her the emotional evidence she needs to reframe the entire dispute as his temper problem. The budget disappears. His anger becomes the subject. She becomes the victim. The backsplash gets funded as an apology. Error 6. Treating every feeling as false. He dismisses her feeling entirely, treating it as a lie or a manipulation. This is the mirror image of the apology reflex. It is possible that she genuinely feels unsupported, that the backsplash triggered a real emotional signal connected to deeper relational dynamics. Dismissing all feelings as fabrication is both inaccurate and strategically foolish, because it validates her narrative that he is emotionally tone-deaf. Error 7. Confusing peace with appeasement. He funds the backsplash to avoid conflict. This is not peace. This is appeasement. Appeasement does not produce peace. It produces appetite. The woman who learns that emotional pressure produces financial compliance will apply emotional pressure again and harder and in other domains. Peace without truth is not peace. It is a ceasefire on her terms, pending the next offensive. The disciplined response. The disciplined response is neither capitulation nor combat. It is translation, boundary, and leadership. Step I, slow down. Do not respond immediately. Lower the emotional temperature. The phrase is designed to produce a reflexive response, apology, anger, or over-explanation. None of those serve him. He breathes, he pauses. He lets the phrase sit in the air for 3 seconds. 3 seconds of silence is not aggression. It is gravity. Step 2. Name the feeling without surrendering the verdict. I hear that you feel unsupported. That is a real feeling. It does not change the budget we agreed on. He has acknowledged her emotional state without accepting it as the final judgment on his conduct. The feeling is data, it is not the verdict. Step 3. Separate the fact from the fiction. We agreed on X for renovations this month. The backsplash costs Y. The difference is Z. That is the factual situation. He returns the conversation to the terrain of evidence, where the budget agreement is the governing document and the bank statement is the witness. Step IV. Ask for the specific request. Are you asking me to change the budget right now? Or are you asking for reassurance that I care about you in this home? This question forces clarity. It separates the financial demand from the emotional bid. If she is making a financial demand, it can be evaluated on its merits. If she is making an emotional bid, it can be met with warmth without opening the treasury. The phrase deliberately conflates the two. His job is to unconflate them. Step V. Offer reassurance without surrendering the boundary. If it is a reassurance bid, and sometimes it genuinely is, he offers it calmly, directly, without groveling. I am committed to you and to this home. The budget exists because I am committed to our future, not because I am indifferent to your desires. This is warmth under structure. It is what a father does, what a leader does, what a steady man does. Step VIX. Hold the boundary if it is a control bid. The budget is set for this month. We can revisit the renovation plan next month and adjust it together if the backsplash is a priority. He does not punish. He does not lecture. He simply does not move the line. The line exists for a reason. The reason predates this argument and will outlast it. Step 7. Reward directness. If she drops the emotional framing and says plainly, I really want the backsplash and I'm frustrated that the budget won't allow it right now, he meets that honesty with respect. I understand. Let's plan for it. A man must teach by his responses. The direct speech is safe and indirect manipulation is futile. If manipulation produces compliance, he is training manipulation. If directness produces collaboration, he is training collaboration. Step 8. Refuse to litigate moods at midnight. Some arguments are timed for maximum vulnerability late at night after a long day, when his defenses are low and his patience is thin. The disciplined response is to table the conversation. I love you. We're not resolving this tonight. Let's talk about it tomorrow when we're both rested. This is not avoidance, it is strategic patience. Courts do not hear cases when the judge is exhausted, neither should he. Step 9. Document serious claims. If the phrase escalates, if unsanctioned becomes controlling, if the kitchen dispute migrates toward accusations that could have legal or reputational consequences, he documents, quietly, without announcement, dates, amounts, text messages, witnesses, not because he is paranoid, because the same emotional reasoning that converts a budget dispute into an emotional crime can, in a family court or an HR office, convert an emotional crime into a factual accusation. The man who has paper has armor. The man who does not has faith, and faith is not a legal defense. Step X. Exit the loop. I love you. I'm sticking to the plan. Let's have dinner. He closes the conversation with warmth, clarity, and finality. He does not chase her mood into the night. He does not reopen the argument at her bidding. He has named the feeling, held the boundary, offered reassurance, and refused to be tried in a court where her emotion is the only statute on the books. The good faith divided by bad faith distinction. Not every woman who speaks this phrase is manipulating. Some are genuinely hurting. The difference is discernible by 3 tests. Test I. Does she accept the separation of domains? A woman of good faith will allow the financial conversation and the emotional conversation to be held separately. She may be frustrated by the budget, but she will not use her frustration as a weapon to override it. A woman operating in bad faith will refuse the separation because the separation disarms her. Test 2. Does she accept evidence? A woman of good faith may feel unsupported, but when shown the budget agreement, the spending record, the timeline of decisions, she will incorporate that evidence into her emotional assessment. She may still feel hurt, but she will not insist that her hurt erases the facts. A woman in bad faith will treat the evidence as an additional injury, proof that he doesn't get it. Test 3. Does she take responsibility? A woman of good faith will eventually ask whether her own conduct, impulsive spending, violation of an agreement, indirect communication of needs contributed to the conflict. She may not do so immediately, but she will arrive there. A woman in bad faith will never arrive there. The hamster will spin until the nearest man wears the mask of her refused shame. The counter logos. The counter to this phrase is not another phrase. It is a discipline. Timeline before feelings, choice before context, evidence before empathy, confession before forgiveness, restitution before healing language. Duty before self-image, sex swap before policy. Written facts before emotional fog, boundaries before rescue, no absolution without amendment. The hamster spins because the conscience knocked. External locus is accountability in disguise, fleeing the scene. Rationalization is the receipt printed after appetite already bought the thing. Projection makes the nearest man wear the mask of her refused shame. No insight, no repair, no trust. Truth begins where the hamster wheel stops. Male response protocol, practical male response protocol. For the phrase, I don't care about the money, I just feel like you made me feel unsupported when I wanted it. Move 1, slow down. Refuse the reaction bait. Her opening line is designed to provoke a defensive reflex. If you explain the budget, you've already lost. You're now on trial for a feeling crime she manufactured. Breathe, let the silence work. A man who pauses is a man who governs the tempo of the exchange. Say nothing for 3 seconds, then, I'm listening. Go ahead. Move 2, identify the climb. She has congifted 2 demands into 1 complaint. She says money is irrelevant. The entire conflict is about money. This is not a contradiction she hasn't noticed. It is a contradiction she is counting on you not to notice. Name the structure without cruelty. So the issue isn't the backsplash itself. It's that my answer didn't match what you hoped for. Is that right? This forces her to confirm the real claim. She wanted a yes, got a no, and converted the no into evidence of emotional failure on your part. Move 3, separate fact from feeling. The fact, a budget was agreed. The backsplash exceeded it, you declined the overage. The feeling, unsanctioned. The feeling does not rewrite the fact, and the fact does not invalidate the feeling. But the feeling is not a bill, and her disappointment is not your debt. I understand you feel unsupported, but we agreed on the budget together. The disagreement is about spending, not about whether I care about you. If she pushes back, stay calm. Your feeling is real. It isn't the whole story, and it isn't the final verdict. Move 4, ASK for the direct request. The phrase is engineered to avoid making a clear ask. I feel unsupported is not a request, it's an indictment disguised as vulnerability. Make her say what she actually wants. This is the single most disarming question in the male communicative arsenal, because it strips away plausible deniability. Are you asking me to change the budget, or are you telling me how you feel? If she says, I'm just telling you how I feel, respond, okay, I've heard you. What would you like me to do? If she says, I want the backsplash, respond, then let's talk about how to make that work within the budget. If she says, I just want you to care, respond, I do care. Caring doesn't mean saying yes to everything. Let's figure out what you actually want. Move 5, refuse the mind-reading guilt. Her hidden premise, if you loved me, you would have known I wanted this without me having to ask, plan, or budget for it. This is a mind-reading demand retroactively imposed as a loyalty test. Reject it cleanly. I can't read your mind. I can work with what you tell me. If something matters to you, tell me before it becomes an emergency. If she escalates with you should just know, hold position, I'm not going to guess. If you want something from me, ask me directly. I'll always take a direct ask seriously. Move 6, reward directness. If she recalibrates and states what she wants, even imperfectly, reinforce it immediately. You are training the communication pattern you want. Praise clarity like you praise a dog for sitting. Immediately, warmly, specifically. I appreciate you saying that straight. That's what I need from you. Let's work with that. Thank you for being direct. That makes it easy for me to support you. This is not manipulation, it is governance. You reward the behavior that builds the marriage and refuse to reward the behavior that corrodes it. Move 7. Set the boundary. The budget is the budget. If she is making a control bid testing whether your no holds, the answer must remain no or negotiated not yet. Surrendering under emotional pressure does not produce peace, it produces contempt. She will not respect a man who folds the moment her tone shifts. I love you. The budget stands. We can revisit the backsplash next month if she escalates to tears, silence, or contempt. I'm not changing the answer. When you're ready to talk about this calmly, I'm here. Move 8. Document serious climbs. If the phrase escalates from a kitchen backsplash to you always, divided by your controlling, divided by your controlling, divided by if I feel unsafe, you have left the territory of disagreement and entered the territory of narrative construction. In family court, HR, or therapy, the story she tells tonight may become the evidence she uses tomorrow. Write down the date, the topic, and what was said. This is not paranoia. It is the male equivalent of checking the smoke detector. To yourself in writing, same day, June 14. Disagreement over kitchen renovation budget. I declined to exceed the agreed X limit. She said I was unsupportive. I asked what she wanted. She did not specify. I offered to revisit next month. If she ever escalates to accusations of abuse, control, or financial manipulation, document. Move 9. Exit circular contempt. The hamster wheel is powered by your participation. If the conversation loops, same accusation, new wording, you are no longer in a dialogue, you are in a performance. Her goal is not resolution, it is reaction. Your goal is to leave the wheel spinning without you on it. I've told you where I stand. I'm not going to argue in circles. Let's have dinner and try again tomorrow. Then walk away. Do not slam the door. Do not raise your voice. Do not send the follow-up text. Let the silence after a clear, calm boundary do the work your words cannot. Move 10. Post-exchange audit. Upio learned. After any conflict of this nature, run the diagnostic. Question purpose. What was the original act? Trace the chronology before the feelings. What did she want before the explanation? Identify appetite, not narrative. What shame was avoided? Find the projection engine. What duty was bypassed? Locate the accountability gap. Who gained sympathy, money, status, custody, attention, or exemption? Follow the incentive. What would the sex swap reveal? Test for double standards. The hamster spins because conscience knocked. Rationalization is the receipt printed after appetite already bought the thing. Your job is not to stop the wheel, it is to refuse to run inside it. Maxim, truth begins where the hamster wheel stops. Hold the line, hold the budget, hold your frame. She didn't say no money, she said you're not my father. Be the father anyway. Axis checklist. Inductive projection. He is not attacking her, he is managing resources. Her feeling of unsupportiveness is a narrative overlay, not a factual record of his behavior. Response. I hear that you feel unsupported. Let's look at the budget we agreed on and see where the disconnect is between the plan and your expectation. Girl math, emotional accounting. She is treating the household treasury as a personal ATM for emotional regulation. The cost is irrelevant if the return is her peace. Response. If the money doesn't matter, why is the lack of it the reason we are arguing right now? Control. Bid versus legitimate need. She is testing his frame. Will he submit to her desire or hold to the agreed structure? This is a power test disguised as a vulnerability bid. Response. I want to support you, but we have a budget. Which one are we prioritizing right now, the plan or the impulse? Tone policing versus evidence. He cannot argue with her feeling, but he can refuse to accept her feeling as the final verdict on his actions. He stays anchored in the what and why of the decision. Response. My action was sticking to our budget. Your feeling is valid, but it doesn't change the math we agreed on. Face saving versus honesty. She is trying to appear the higher moral ground, love over money, while demanding the material good. He sees through the performance. Response. It's okay to care about the money. Let's talk about what the backsplash means to you and what the budget means to us. I have stood in that half-finished kitchen. I have watched the arms cross, heard the flat tone, seen the eyes searching for a crack in the frame, and I have made every mistake there is to make. I apologized for budgets I had every right to keep. I over-explained arithmetic to a woman who was not auditing the numbers, but testing the man. I chased moods down corridors that had no exit, because I thought love meant matching her emotional altitude whatever the cost to the structure that actually kept the roof on both our heads. It took years, and a great deal of quiet damage, before I understood the law that governs these exchanges. She is not lying, she is not scheming, but she is speaking a language designed to make her desire appear as your deficiency, and if you cannot translate it in real time, you will find yourself apologizing for your own competence, while she loses respect for you with every concession you make. Here is the rule I want you to carry out of this essay. Write on the inside of your forehead and apply until it becomes reflex. Translate the feeling, hold the fact, and never let the warmth of the first cancel the authority of the second. That is the whole discipline. When she says she feels unsupported, the feeling is real and it deserves acknowledgement, but the feeling is not an invoice and it is not a verdict on your character. You can say with genuine steadiness and without a drop of cruelty that you hear her, that you understand the backsplash matters to her, and that the budget still stands. Warmth does not require surrender. Authority does not require coldness. The man who can hold both at once is the man who is neither a pushover nor a tyrant, and he is the only man a woman will trust to lead anything larger than a conversation. Everything in this dictionary, every entry, every decoded phrase and projection pattern and girl math equation comes down to this single practice. You are learning to hear what is actually being said beneath the layer of emotional language, respond to the real request instead of the disguised demand, and stay standing when the rhetorical weather turns. This is not manipulation. Manipulation is what happens when people use feelings to rewrite agreements. What you are doing is the opposite. You are restoring the conditions under which honesty is possible. Agreements mean something, and love does not require the annual sacrifice of your judgment on the altar of her momentary satisfaction. The West was not built by men who could not say no warmly. It was not preserved by men who confused capitulation with compassion, and it will not be rebuilt by them either. So learn the language, not to weaponize it, not to dominate, but to stand clearly in your own house, in your own name, with your own words still good at the end of the day. Every time you translate correctly, you are doing something older and larger than winning an argument. You are insisting that reality still holds, that a man's yes and no still means something, and that the people you love deserve the dignity of dealing with a man who is actually there, actually present, and cannot be moved from his center by anything except truth. That is the inheritance. Carry it. Sponsored book. Red Pill Mastery, the complete guide to embracing mature masculinity and taking control of your life. You're holding a book that will either save your life or piss you off so badly you'll throw it into a bonfire. Good. This isn't for the faint-hearted, the politically correct, or anyone still clutching a happy wife, happy life mug. If you're content being a walking ATM, a beta simp nodding along to feminist lectures about toxic masculinity while your ex-wife vacations in Bali with your money, close this book now, go knit a sweater, write poetry. Do anything but waste my time. I wrote Red Pill Mastery because I watched modern men become slaves. I lost 6 figures in a divorce engineered by a system that rewards female exploitation. I've seen friends bankrupted by paternity fraud, watched sons drugged into submission by schools that pathologize testosterone, and witnessed brotherhoods collapse under the weight of woke propaganda. This isn't theory, it's survival. The system wants you weak. It profits from your compliance. Feminists, divorce lawyers, and government leeches feast on your labor while mocking your dignity. You're told to man up and be vulnerable in the same breath, trapped in a lose-lose game rigged by people who despise you. This book is a rebellion. Inside, you'll learn how to shield your wealth from gold diggers using offshore strategies even your lawyer won't mention. You'll discover why 70% of married men regret saying, "I do," and how to avoid joining them. We'll dissect the legal scams draining your bank account, expose the simp economy funding, Stacy's third boob job, and rebuild the primal brotherhoods that once made men unstoppable. You'll master prison workouts that intimidated without words, exploit the sexual market's brutal age gap, and raise sons who build empires instead of crying in therapy. This isn't self-help, it's warfare. Soft men, white knights, and virtue-signaling progressives will hate everything here. Let them. Their approval means nothing. For the rest, The exhausted providers, the betrayed fathers, the men who still hear the call of their ancestors, this is your blueprint. The clock's ticking. Every minute you waste playing by their rules is a minute you'll never reclaim. Buy it, read it, act, or get back to funding her next boyfriend's jet ski. Your choice. Red Pill Mastery, the complete guide to embracing mature masculinity and taking control of your life. Written by Conrad Reicher. Buy now, links in description.